Welcome to Woodturning with Dick, once again. Look at that, bit of bog oak. That was cut, and it was straight. That was all perfectly straight. And it is warped and changed. Now, it's virtually made for me. Look at that, sits beautifully cleanly. Lovely curvature as it's warped. What can a wood turner do with that? That piece, you're gonna cut a lump out and end up with a thin little bowl, maybe two, one there, but then all the cracks. But there's me, and I'm like, oh, right, this bit of wood, what can I do? Where do you put a faceplate? You put it on there, you're gonna have all sorts of issues. You're gonna put it on there, not really gonna work, is it? You know? Woo. So, what I propose, I've been umming and ahhing about this for a while, and I think, like the video you just saw, I can cut that bit out of there with all those cracks and fissures and things in it. Now, I'm not going to mark it from this side because this is the most even. It's nice and stable if it's stuck, pressured there, and pressured there, it's nice and solid. And that's what I'm going to be working with, I think. I can't glue it. There's not enough area touching any of that surface on the bottom in order to glue it so it holds. But there, a screw through there, screw through there, screw through there, that should hold it nice and firm. I've dug out a bit of old MDF that was clearly used as a pug board at some point, and it's got a load of glue that's run off and sat on it. So let me clean that up quickly. Consider that cleaned up. Now, there's my board for cutting out. That will do. Do that on the bandsaw real quick. Lovely job. Now, some screws long enough to go through that bit of wood and well into this, nice and close to the edge. Those will do nicely. Nice and close to this edge, but not too close that it splits the wood open, because I'm going to have to lose this bit of wood at the end to get rid of those screw holes. No wobble on that at all. Now we're cooking. Next thing, I'll take that bit of wood out of there, haven't I? Now it was roughly this size, wasn't it? Excellent. Before I finish drilling my connecting points, which will allow that to separate, because I've done the drill holes right next to each other, I do want to take the core out of this one as well, as I did with the Zero Cote. If I do it there, yeah. And finally, I believe it's time for separation. I'll tap that one out. That's my core, with the crack going along, not where I wanted it, but c'est la vie. And this one, that's that. Oof. Oof. Taking the top edge of that out. Yeah. Might glue that bit back in. Come quite close to this edge. It's going to be fun. Work in progress. Love these cracks. Such fun. So just a dollop of glue in there, I think. Good jellying good. Put that in there. Clamp that in there. Beautiful. Next thing, while that's drying, may as well start on this. This is the straightest edge. And this is going to be perfectly round when I'm finished. It's going to be quite a thin thing. Damn it. I was hoping for something a bit thicker. Not a lot I can do about that. I used a very vague pencil line earlier. Mark that up a bit clearer. So that's the direction. I do plan to mount later, but I kind of wanted to cut down that crack. Move that out of the way. What's there and down that? Well, that's my mark. That's where I need to go and across there. I want to put a rod up there. Another one can go about here. Yeah, that'll work. Then comes the quandary. It's on this line, but whereabouts? Because I want to be drilling it now, really. while it's in this state, because it'll be easier to get them straight. It'll all come together later. I know you don't believe me right now. You're like, what the hell is he on? What is he doing? The man is on drugs. I'm really not. I'm guessing by the time I've cleaned that face up, I'm going to have a bit about that wide. It is somewhere in the middle there. Where's my line? There it is. We're all the way around here. Just by eye, it's going to be about there. I love working on new projects and the challenges they have. So obviously they're going to be for my mounting rods. Let's sand that flat quickly. Come back to you in just a sec. Yes, it's barely hanging on and I need to narrow it down to about this size. All I want to do at this stage is tidy this outside edge as much as I can without hitting the buttons and make that flat. So it's going to be quite narrow by the time I'm finished. Hopefully well within these. Little bit of a catch. Gonna come out from the inside out, I think. This is gonna be worth it, I promise. Take two. All you need to do at the moment is take down that outside edge. And you're almost there. Look, it doesn't look like there's much to go there, but you know, got to be careful. You know what? We've got a lot of flat surface there now. So let's try it that way around for a little while. Third time lucky. We've got one flat face. Let's try and get a little bit around on the outside edge. Well, that worked a treat. This I think I'm possibly going to fill with bog oak and glue, but we'll approach that when I turn it around the other way. Right now I just want a slight curvature on this. Bear in mind I can't get too much because I need the grip on there, don't I? Looking good, reasonably chunky, which is quite nice. I'm going to get a slight bend on that on the inside. I'll get more of that when I turn it round and then turn it round again, etc, etc. But I think gentle dip on the outside there. Yeah, that will do. Rest of that I sand out. Time to get rid of this big dip here and the ugliness on the outside. Yay. What's this, fourth or fifth time lucky? Fifth, I think. This is all a bit brittle, as is this. Although, you see how brittle it is? And there's a bit of rot in there. I think I'm going to dig that white, most of that out of there. And I'm going to put some super glue in there, some spare bog oak dust, because I've got some spare, oddly enough. And fill that right up, fill that up there. Stabilise this a little bit, even though I am cutting down, directly down that central bit. I don't want to disguise that too much from myself. Tidy the whole thing up generally. I'll come back to you when there's something interesting to show you. Well, that's been clamped in there. That's successfully stayed in. What I want to do is there's quite a lot of gapping around that, and it is quite the big dip in here. So I just want to fill each side with some dust and glue before I put this back together. I'm going to use this scrap bit of wood here. And we'll see how that dries. So there's my middle core. Now, again with the arrow pencil mark on it to make sure it's in the right direction for when it's hoisted out and put on a rod, I marked the little arrow to ensure that I put the hole in the right place, which I've drilled just now. And that, I think, is fairly central to where I want it to be. I kind of want a pebble stroke round thing, more pebble-like than round, mainly because of this sort of split mark up here. So we're just going to go with fattish pebble and keep an eye on that split. I do love bog oak for this gorgeous grain you do get in it. Just look at that. That's lovely. It's like a perfect little pebble. That's what I've got to watch. I can see daylight through that. So I'm going to need to make my pebble and then glue up some of that crack, I think. You can see a chunk's flown off here as I was turning it. To be expected somewhat because of the size of that crack. Fortunately, it's just held in there with the tailstock. Shape-wise, I quite like it. Once that's sanded and got that perfectly round. It's reasonably pebble-like. That's just 80 grit. I think I'm just going to take these down a little bit more so I've got a bit more access to this big old crack here, which I filled with super glue, dust and accelerator. And I think I've got the majority of it, but I think this can come down a little bit more. I'm just going to fill that whole surface with bog oak dust and glue, I think. I'll time lapse it for you because, you know, it's a huge, interesting piece of wood. Sure, you want to see me sticking some dust and super glue in there. Time lapse, it is. Look at that grain revealed. That's only 320 grit finish. And, oh, look, it's going to be a beautiful little pebble. I'll shove some sealer on it, although most of that's going to get wiped off later on when I'm sanding these bits clean. But still. Said before, and I'll say it again, bog oak really does soak up the sander sealer. Okay, I'll show you that later on, once those bits are off, once it's all sanded and pretty. Well, there it is, finished. It'll do. Let's get it out. I've done both sides, by the way. I've turned it around a couple of times and sanded it and sealed it and done it all proper. So there's that piece. That's ready for some wax, but needs cutting in half. We'll do that in just a sec. There's my little pebble with a bit of wax on it. We're waiting a rod. That's turned out rather lovely. It's beautiful in the hand. Just a nice little pebble. I've put this, screwed the board back on the back. The glue's gone off nicely. You can't necessarily see that very well in there, but all that wood glue and dust I put in, hopefully going to work with what I want to be able to do. If not, I'll keep sanding it down until it does work. I do need to put this on the lathe. I think I'm going to put the faceplate on this side. But how do I know where's central? I think my llama without ears is going to help. So, just going to run around keeping the pencil upright as the drill did. And just mark around the outside edge. I can see enough of that to be able to get these things in there and run around and find the central point. I think that will do. I'm going to put a hole through there to mark the dead center on the drill stand. And there's my new hole. That goes all the way through. Ends up somewhere there. Perfect. Just like that. And then I can put that on the chuck and clean this up nicely. Hopefully. This needs cutting in half. I've got an 8mm drill bit here. These are 8mm holes. Push that up in there. that one up in there as well. And we can see that that's fairly even. Now, picture those straight up into a base. There's my crack I want to cut down. I want exactly half if I can get it. That'll do. Got some cracks there. Not sure I'll worry about filling those. We'll see when I sand them clean. But that'll do for now. I can position that like that, like that, like that. Lots of various options now. Before I make that decision, there's something else I want to do with these. It may ruin the entire piece, and I might have to add it all to the burn pile because there's not a lot I can do with it separately. Now, I want to turn a hole in this face and this one all the way through to here, but I don't want a chuck grip in there. So I'm going to have probably, maybe I will. First things first, let's get these flattened off perfectly because at the moment that's not flat. Pinching the bottom of it. It's a great ab workout, I tell you. I'm going to have a six pack in no time. Just put that on the chuck and, you know, it's fine, but there's quite a lot of flex there. Sensibly, if I can drill a hole through here and just into that, I found a screw that if I drill that in, it's just going to be there. Yeah, that'll work. This is going to be fun. No, I think bowl gouge to start. Try anyway. Woo! Oh, it's working over this side. Not so much over here. Alright, slowly. Yeah, a little bit to go before it's round. And after much toing and froing, I think I'm flat enough to sand. Lots of manual sanding, I think. Now, this is probably a terrible idea. I need a flat spot on the top here. The easiest way to find that is put a straight edge against here, hold that firmly there, put that down there, hold that firm, press it against my belt sander. What could go wrong? Nice clean holes going all the way through. Only sanded this to 120 grit. I'll finish that off later because this whole thing might not work. Now, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. Screw chuck in there, just like that. And then I can put that on the lathe. I can clean up this area here. I found this that's no good to anyone. Don't know why I kept it. It's just nice and straight, cut off the table saw. That's almost the same length as my two halves. And then I can glue that on there, drill a hole through to put my screw chuck on there. Then I can clean up the outside exactly how I want it. This is sort of working. I like this. And again, what could possibly go wrong aside from hitting the end of my worm screw? Ooh, it's a bowl shape. That'll do. So I've drilled my little bits of bog oak with a 10mm for the worm screw, and in theory, press my tailstock up to that finds centre. Then all I need to do, tighten that slightly, put a nice bit of pressure against the bog oak while my glue's drying. I'll put a little drip tray underneath that, stop any glue dripping onto my lathe. Just like that, it's dry. Lovely. This is where I see if my little hole is actually going to look something like what I want it to look like. You know what? The sandpaper is going to take care of that lip there. So I'm going to bring it round the sandpaper and actually come so it merges with this edge here. Hang on a minute. Well, there you are. Bit dusty, but there is my glorious hole. Okay, ignore that purple heart at the back there, 16-inch square, 2-inch thick. That's for a future video coming up shortly. But anyway, bog oak. I've sanded this. I've sanded the bottom and the sides on the belt sander to 80 grit. That is looking rather nice. I almost want to say sexy, because those curvatures are just splendid. Just the way it bows. What I need to do now is decide how I'm going to display these halves. I've been having a think about it. I put these on some temporary rods, just random offcuts. Now, there's a certain amount of gap there from the cut and the sanding. And what I want to do is, I was thinking about, is staggering it like that. And what I do need to do is get it perfectly in line when I do it, so that when you're in line with it, it's got an equal space all the way around these. That is the bit that comes later. Right now, I'm just deciding where to put them. And at the moment, I'm liking that a lot. Now, where do I put the ball or pebble or whatever you want to call it? Picture the other one there as well. I put that right back there, where I can put it out the front. With that there, that like that. What if I had that in the middle? What if that was actually drill a hole through that base and put that in the dead middle? That might look really smart. Obviously, we're shrouded in shadow at the moment, but you're getting the idea, aren't you? And then with that in the middle, I had one side and one the other. That's looking pretty good, you know. With that decided, I think I'm going to stick with that. I like that idea. All I've got to do is find a dead middle of that, a couple of holes in that. And I'll do what I did last time, using these and putting that upside down. Clamp that, turn it over in a minute, and drill some holes. I've taped a little section of this nice flexible bit of wood, so hopefully that'll prevent any tear out on the inside of the ring. Awesome. And then the two mounting rods. No major tear out on that, which is great. Make it nice and neat when that rod sits through there. Yeah. There you go. That's pretty dang close. I stuck a bit of tape on the bottom when working out the depth that I need for my little rod. And that still needs to be polished. Still need to put some wax over that just to finish it off nicely. I've also cut a couple of rods to the length I need. That in there. Put that in there. I've also been quite busy off camera. Cut up another bit of bog oak, which has got similar colourings to this piece, and it actually mimics quite nicely on this one. You can see I've drilled the holes where I think they should be, everything should be. This goes in here, other way around. I'll glue those in later. And the other pieces I've cut rods for. I'm not going to stick them in yet because all this needs sanding and rods need polishing. This all needs sanding and polishing. So I think this off to the gilder to gild the inside of these, gild the inside of this, not in my little hole. And I'll leave the ball alone in the middle, I think, just pure bog oak. Then I'll come back and we'll put it together. One polished base. That'll do. You've already seen that. Rod's now polished. I slid these onto their rods already, but look at that. And look wonderful. Yes, I know my holes are way different sizes, but they are going opposite sides of each other. And I think that would work in its own separate way. And of course, this. Look at that lovely band of champagne gold. 22.5 carat of gold and 1.5 carat of palladium, giving that really kind of warm silver look. I'm going to put it all together and then I'm going to take a nice little video of it rotating. I noted a couple of people said last time I did a sculptural piece like this, I think possibly even on the last video, that it needs to be rotating so they can see it from all the angles and how the light catches it and so on. Anyway, give me a comment. Tell me what you think. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, whatever. Tell me how your day's going. Whatever you like. Thanks very much. See you soon.